Jumping into 35mm can be intimidating and can be quite confusing on where to start. From expensive premium SLR cameras to plastic point and shoots, the sheer amount of cameras is honestly overwhelming. But that shouldn't deter you. Shooting film was the single most turnkey change that improved my photography. Today I'm going to walk you through a buying guide for 35mm film cameras. In my opinion, 35mm seems like the most appropriate place for a beginner wanting to get their feet wet. They tend to be the most forgiving and have 36 or more frames to allow more freedom when shooting. Additionally, 35mm is the same resolution size as a full-frame digital camera, which makes learning easy. They even feel and operate very similarly to digital SLRs, just more mechanicalized and obviously more analog feeling. Before digital photography, film was the only way to take photos. So to say that there are some legendary cameras from the past 100 years or so would be a massive understatement. So without further ado, let's talk about the cameras. First, decide which type of camera you want. Classic SLR, rangefinder, point and shoot, disposable, or novelty. First, let's start with the SLRs. These are most reminiscent of digital cameras today and are probably the majority of people's entry into film. They tend to be compact and robust, allow interchangeable lenses, and generally are capable of any type of photography, from landscapes to portraits to lifestyle, etc. Additionally, lots of older Canon or Nikon film cameras can easily mount modern lenses on, so that is something to definitely consider as well. SLRs are, in my opinion, kind of the workhorse of film cameras, putting thousands of photos through them. So if you're looking for a good everyday prosumer camera, this would be the way to go. So for each camera, I'm going to break them down into 3 different categories based on price range. That doesn't mean that they'll be the same throughout, but you'll understand. So first, it's budget, quality, and then premium. The pricing for these will fluctuate based on said camera, but you'll understand as we go along. For budget, I would suggest the Olympus OM10. It is a really quality camera with nice lenses that holds your hand into the hobby while not breaking the bank. For value, I would suggest the Nikon F2 or F3. Very high quality with a legendary selection of lenses. If you prefer mechanical, go F2, or more battery powered, go F3. For premium, I would suggest the Contax G2. Extremely high quality titanium feel to this one. My only suggestion for this would be finding a mint one, as Contax kind of has a reputation for the electronics dying, but if you get a newer high quality one, that should be no problem. Next up, 35mm rangefinders. When I first started shooting film, these ones puzzled me. I never understood why someone would want a rangefinder. You don't actually see what the lens is seeing, they seem less tactile, and just overall weird to use. Now, with that in mind, my favorite camera of all time is a rangefinder, so let's talk about why they might be perfect for you. First, the focus is extremely fast. Because of the way the viewfinder works, instead of focusing with your eyes, you have a patch in the middle, which serves as a tool to guide focusing. Because of this, you can focus a lot quicker than trying to find it manually on an SLR. These bad boys tend to be the camera of choice for many street photographers because of said reason, and they have some incredibly illustrious cameras in their lineup. For budget, I would choose the Yashica Electro. The lens, a f1.7 40mm, is just too unique and sharp to not include in here. For quality, I would say Konica Auto S2. These compact cameras are slept on in general and render great images at an amazing affordable price. For premium, I would suggest the Leica M6, or honestly, any Leica. Of course, I had to include one of these in here. Leica is known for being probably the most premium camera brand of all time, so it only felt right. Next up, point shoots. These cameras are pretty self-explanatory. You point, look through the viewfinder, it autofocuses, and you shoot it. They typically are metered and do all the work for you. Closely behind SLRs, point and shoots are also incredibly popular today. Being reminiscent of a disposable camera, point and shoots can be found in every thrift store in America, guaranteed. However, many of these cameras are junk and not even worth the $2 price tag on them. With that being said, there are still many cameras that can produce top-tier 35mm images while still retaining the tiny, compact, easy-to-use form factor. These cameras are perfect for carrying around for every day, or bringing to a party or concert to get some sick tones. For budget, I would suggest the Canon SureShot line. These come in unbelievably cheap and still render some really sharp images while being pocketable. For quality, I would suggest the Olympus Mu 2. Coming in at a slightly higher price point, these used to be found at, like I said, any thrift store, but because of the popularity of film rising and how good these are and how sharp the lenses are, these have gone up in price. That being said, I still think it's a great middle ground quality point and shoot camera. For premium, as much as I hate to do this, the Contax T2. Come on, how could I not? I own one, the public loves them, and ultimately they just produce great work. Equipped with a Carl Zeiss lens, it's hard to beat this one, especially as they seem to continue to go up in price. Next up, disposable cameras. Honestly, these are pretty self-explanatory. These typically have plastic housing and plastic lenses, so the images you get are typically not very sharp. Because of this and how much plastic you will waste by throwing away the camera with every roll, I would really never suggest a disposable unless you've never shot film and want to try it out for a trip or weekend or something like that. There are some companies out there that make some reusable plastic cameras, but at that point just buy a different, better camera that will give you better pictures or teach you much more about film and photography. Because I'm not really wanting to recommend these, I'm not going to give you any suggestions, but know if you wanted to get one, any local camera shop, Walgreens, or online would have plenty to try. And lastly, more novelty cameras. Okay, so by novelty, I don't mean bad, I mean unique. None of them are really that relatable to each other other than the fact that they're unlike most other cameras and give some really cool results on film. So if you're looking for something unique to share with friends and family while still participating and learning about film photography, maybe one of these is for you. For these, just because they're so unique in their own right, I'm not really going to break them up into different price points, rather just give you 3 or 4 really good, unique, novelty-based cameras that I think you guys might be interested in. First, the Nimslo 3D camera. These 3D cameras are quite popular today and capture a moment-in-time type photo. Beware though, they take quite a bit of post-production work to get to cool 3D images. Next, the Yashica Samurai. The Samurai actually doubles the amount of photos you can shoot. It splits the negative in half, allowing an interesting pairing of 2 photos for every 1 negative. Next up, pinhole cameras. A pinhole camera is a simple camera without a lens, but with a tiny aperture, the so-called pinhole, effectively creating a light-proof box with a small hole in one side. I've never used of these, but they definitely do seem interesting. And last up, a god tier camera, probably the most expensive camera on this list, the Hasselblad X-Pan. This camera is a legendary panorama camera, and I would never suggest someone get the X-Pan as their first camera, but I will own one day and I will make a video on this channel, so stay tuned. Okay, so now that you have an idea of which type of camera you might like to buy, let's talk about how you actually go about buying them. In my opinion, there is 3 main ways that are the best for purchasing film cameras, so let's go through my most familiar way first, eBay. When you look on eBay, you'll find that the majority of film cameras come from Japan, interestingly enough. Despite this, I find that Japanese people tend to take better care of their cameras, so paying the extra for shipping hasn't bothered me. That being said, you want to make sure you know how much the import fees are before you buy one from Japan, thinking it will be cheaper and end up paying 40% on the import fees. Other than my first camera, pretty much all of my other cameras that I purchased have been through eBay from Japan, so as long as you look for the right things, you should be golden. First, I would check the credibility of the seller. Next to their name, they hopefully have 5 stars and hundreds or thousands of reviews. Many of the sellers on eBay are actually brick and mortar stores in Japan that also sell online. After that checks out, I would check the condition of the camera and read the description. I don't mind my cameras being a little used, but try to avoid anything with too many scratches or dings. Pay attention to the description too. You want to make sure the cameras have no fungus in the lenses, as that will impact the final image, and you want to make sure the camera is fully working or tested. Once you find one that looks clean, then you should be good to pull the trigger. Next, if you don't want to find one online, you could search locally. This is how I found my first film camera, the Olympus OM10. Keep in mind that the choices around you physically are going to be quite limited unless there is an actual camera store. If there's a local camera store, go see if they have any film cameras. Otherwise, try your local forums like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. People tend to not know a ton about the cameras other than what's on Google, so I've found it's a lot easier to haggle with people on there versus anywhere else. As for when looking at the camera, same story goes for eBay. Try to make sure the camera was taken care of, even though the person selling it may not have any info on said camera. Additionally, in many cases, the people don't even know if the cameras are working, so that is something to consider too. You could be getting an amazing steal, but you also could be getting something that is only worth its weight in parts. Lastly, more popular online retailers. These tend to come with a more premium price point, but will come with the company's guarantee any possible protection plans, return labels, etc. A good place to start with this is KEH. While I've never actually bought anything from them, I have a friend who swears by their service. They tend to carry lots of the popular 35mm cameras and lenses and are essentially a one-stop shop for your film needs. You can get your camera, a lens, camera strap, accessories, and film all in one purchase. I tend to be more of a DIYer, so I don't really foresee myself going this route in the near future, but it is cool knowing that there are more turnkey options to get you started. Okay, so if you made it this far and you're still kind of indecisive about which camera you should buy, I'm going to break it down into almost a too long, didn't read type format for you guys. If you want to try film to see if you like it, get a Disposable. If you want to get an easy film aesthetic camera where you don't have to think about much, get a point and shoot. If you want to learn about photography and have a lot more control, get a traditional SLR. If you want to shoot faster paced stuff or street photography, get a rangefinder. If you want to shoot super unique images, get one of these more novelty cameras. So that's going to wrap it up for this buying guide for you guys. I hope it helps you kind of figure out the beast of mystery that is film photography. I think it can be really intimidating, just trying to get your feet wet with all the different types of film cameras, film stocks, how you shoot it, etc, etc. With that being said, I'm actually working on a very similar type video for medium format, as I know there's also a large interest in jumping from 35 or even digital into medium format. So stay on the lookout for that video coming in the following weeks. Like I said, I'm almost done with the script, so I'll be filming it and editing it soon. Otherwise, I think that's going to do it. Until next time, guys, stay on the lookout for more videos. Peace out.